Welcome to Havensberg. Havensberg was a town with secrets. Nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering willows, it seemed peaceful. But beneath the surface, darkness lingered. Locals whispered tales of a cursed house on the hill, Blackwood Manor. No one dared to go near. For years, stories circulated about the Blackwood family tragedy. A fire had swept through the manor, claiming their lives, or so they said. But whispers persisted. The fire was no accident. It was the curse. The Blackwood family was once the envy of Havensberg. They were known for their immense wealth, their influence in the community, and their grandiose lifestyle. The family had a long history in the town with roots that went back several generations. Their legacy was one of prosperity and power, and they were admired by many. Wealthy and influential, they lived in the grand Blackwood Manor. The manor itself was a symbol of their status, a sprawling estate with lush gardens, opulent interiors, and a sense of timeless elegance. It was a place where grand parties were held and where the elite of Havensberg would gather. Then, tragedy struck. One stormy night, a fire engulfed the manor. The flames rose high into the sky, visible from miles away. The townspeople could only watch in horror as the once magnificent mansion was consumed by the inferno. The fire raged on, unstoppable, leaving nothing but ashes in its wake. John Blackwood, his wife Eleanor, and their young daughter Anya perished in the blaze. The loss was devastating, not just for the family, but for the entire community. The Blackwoods had been a pillar of Havensberg, and their sudden and tragic demise left a void that could never be filled. The cause of the fire remained a mystery. Despite thorough investigations, no definitive explanation could be found. Theories abounded, but none could be proven. The uncertainty only added to the sense of unease that gripped the town. Some whispered of foul play, while others blamed faulty wiring. The rumours spread like wildfire, each more sensational than the last. Some believed that the Blackwoods had enemies who sought their downfall, while others thought it was a tragic accident waiting to happen. But the townsfolk knew better. They had heard the stories, the legends that had been passed down through generations. They knew that the Blackwood family had always been shrouded in mystery and that their fate was intertwined with something far more sinister. The Blackwood curse had claimed another generation. It was said that the family was doomed, that their wealth and power came at a terrible price. Each generation had faced its own tragedies, and the fire was just the latest in a long line of misfortunes. Legend had it that the manor was built on cursed land. The very ground it stood on was said to be tainted, a place where dark forces held sway. The curse was believed to be ancient, predating even the Blackwood family, and it was said to bring doom to all who lived there. It was said to be haunted by the spirits of those who died within its walls. The manor was a place of restless souls, where the past lingered and the dead could not find peace. The townspeople spoke of ghostly figures seen in the windows, strange noises in the night, and an overwhelming sense of dread that hung over the place. The tragedy of Blackwood Manor was not just a story of fire and loss, but of a curse that spanned generations, a haunting that would never end. Four friends, united by their thirst for the unknown, decided to confront the legend of Blackwood Manor. There was Jake, the skeptic, always ready with a logical explanation. Emily, the daredevil, eager to face her fears. Ben, the tech whiz, armed with cameras and recording equipment. And Sophia, the believer, drawn to the paranormal. They were university students working on a research project about local legends, their mission to investigate the truth behind the curse of Blackwood Manor. Little did they know they were about to become part of the legend themselves. The old car rumbled down the dusty road, carrying the four friends closer to their destination. Excitement crackled in the air, mixed with a healthy dose of apprehension. As they entered Havensberg, the air grew heavy, the atmosphere thick with unspoken secrets. The town was eerily quiet. Shops were closed and curtains were drawn. It felt deserted, as if the town itself was holding its breath. They stopped at the local diner, a greasy spoon called the Hungry Ghost. The name seemed fitting. Inside the diner, the air was thick with the smell of stale coffee and fried food. The waitress, a woman with tired eyes and a weary smile, seemed unsurprised by their presence.
They ordered burgers and fries, their appetites dulled by the oppressive atmosphere.
"So, you kids hear about the Blackwood Manor?" the waitress asked, her voice low and raspy.
They exchanged nervous glances. The legend of the manor preceded them.
"Don't go poking around there," she warned, her eyes filled with a strange mixture of fear and sadness. "Some things are best left undisturbed."
As dusk settled, the sky painted itself in hues of deep orange and purple, casting long shadows over the landscape. They drove towards the outskirts of town, the car's headlights cutting through the encroaching darkness. Following the winding road that led to Blackwood Manor, they felt a sense of foreboding. With each passing mile, the trees grew denser, their branches intertwining like skeletal fingers. The air became heavier, laden with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Finally, they saw it. Silhouetted against the darkening sky stood Blackwood Manor, its towering structure looming ominously. It was more imposing than they had imagined, a relic of a bygone era that seemed to defy the passage of time. The once grand mansion was now a decaying shell, its former glory reduced to crumbling stone and rotting wood. Its walls were blackened by fire, the charred remains of a tragic past etched into its very fabric. Its windows, like empty eyes, stared out at them, reflecting the sorrow and secrets that lay within. A shiver ran down their spines as they took in the sight before them. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. As they stepped out of the car, the cold air bit at their skin, their breath visible in the frigid night. The silence was broken only by the sound of their own breathing, a stark reminder of their isolation. They exchanged uneasy glances, each wondering what secrets the old mansion held. The journey had been long, but the true challenge lay ahead. With a deep breath, they steeled themselves and approached the front door, the weight of history pressing down on their shoulders. The house on the hill awaited, its mysteries ready to be unveiled. As they approached the house, the hairs on their arms stood on end. The atmosphere was thick with an unspoken tension, a palpable sense of dread that seemed to seep from the very walls of the old manor. Each step they took felt heavier, as if the ground itself was reluctant to let them proceed. The air grew colder, and a low, mournful wind whistled through the trees. It was as if the wind carried with it the whispers of long-forgotten souls, their stories lost to time, but their presence still lingering. The trees swayed and creaked, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to the intruders. They could hear the creaking of the house, as if it were groaning under its own weight. The sound was almost rhythmic, a slow, deliberate moan that seemed to echo through the empty halls. It was as if the house itself was alive, breathing and watching their every move.
Ben set up his camera equipment, his movements quick and efficient. He had done this many times before, but there was something different about this place. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the settings, a small bead of sweat forming on his brow despite the cold.
Guys, this place is seriously creepy. The words hung in the air, a stark understatement of the fear that gripped them all. They exchanged nervous glances, each one silently questioning whether they should continue.
They started their investigation, documenting everything with cameras and audio recorders. Every creak, every whisper, every shadow was meticulously captured, their senses heightened to the slightest anomaly. They knew that in a place like this, even the smallest detail could be significant. As they moved through the darkened rooms, they heard strange noises. The sounds were faint at first, almost imperceptible, but they grew louder and more distinct with each passing moment. It was as if the house was trying to communicate with them, to tell them its secrets. Footsteps echoing in the hallway, a door slamming shut. The sudden noise made them jump, their hearts pounding in their chests. They turned to see the door, now closed, that had been opened just moments before. It was as if an unseen force was toying with them, testing their resolve. Whispers carried on the wind. The voices were indistinct, a murmur of words that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. They strained to listen, trying to make out the words, but the whispers remained just out of reach, like a half-remembered dream. They entered a room at the end of the hallway. It was empty except for a lone rocking chair swaying gently back and forth. The air in the room was heavy, suffocating.
Guys, look, there's a door here.
There was no mistaking it. A faint outline of a door was visible on the wall, as if it had been painted over. But there was no handle, no hinges, no sign that a door had ever been there. They watched in astonishment as the outline of the door began to fade, disappearing before their very eyes. Panic surged through them. They had to get out of there.
Sophia.
Sophia, where are you?
They searched frantically, their hearts pounding in their chests. The house seemed to mock their fear, its silence deafening. They checked every room, every nook and cranny, but Sophia was gone, vanished without a trace. Fear turned to terror. Sophia was gone. Had she wandered off on her own, or had something happened to her? They knew they couldn't stay in the house any longer. They had to get help. As they raced out of the house, they cast one last glance back at the imposing structure. The windows seemed to gleam with an eerie light, as if the house itself was watching them. The curse of Blackwood Manor had claimed another victim, or had it?